Got it. Let's just turn that down. I'll close this window. I'm in the upstairs new room. Got it. Just turn that down. I'll close this window. Let me check the audio on this side. I'm in the upstairs new room. And we shall begin. It is the 7th of November 2022. Welcome. Check the audio on this side. Perfecto. This is the new Inner Sanctum. If you've been paying attention to my community pages and the various updates I've been giving you, then you will have seen the transformation from simple loft to extra bedroom. We're not here for that, but that's where I am. And we're going to talk about correcting the implied trust and obtaining settlement. And to some of you, you'll be like, say what? Okay. And to others, you'll be like, yes. About time, Indy. Where's the bin? They've been telling us about this for weeks, and we've been waiting with bated breath. And that's not been about David. Well, this is a private video. There is no consent to share it, as I'm sure you can appreciate the need to keep it private. I just got some pop-ups there. I want to screen share with you. I also want to give, it's going to be a mission for me to find your name, but somebody sent me an email. One of the scribes has sent me an email a few weeks ago saying, hey up Dave, I've seen this video and what do you think of it? I'm like, it's alright, that one. It's one of the better ones that I've seen. The terminology is bang on. The proposals are pretty much bang on, and I've taken a screenshot from that video and I've made some notes, and we're going to talk about discharge, set off, we're going to talk about public side, public titles, public liabilities, the private side, private titles, assets. We're going to look at the strawman trust account, or the CQV public trust, of which if you're in America, as we've pointed out, the 14th Amendment, all persons are attached to the national debt, the public debt via. Okay, so if you're wanting information and you're not here on English soil, then you're one of your key areas to look at, other than the Federal Reserve, the history of the Federal Reserve, Bank of England for England, central banks. I would also look at money, intrinsic value, what value is, what money is, what credit is, what cash is, what promissory notes are, bankruptcy acts, removal of gold standards. To begin with, you should already have got that covered. Most that would be privy to watching this video, as it's going up onto Indiglo members only, and it will be shared with our private domain, splspro.com. And pro, what does pro mean? You're not very professional, Dave. Well, that's because pro doesn't necessarily denote professional in SPLSPRO. So the pro creators, protectors, is what I had when I initially designed sovereign paralawfuls.com .community. Alright, so then I would like to say at the beginning of this video, before we proceed, I have endeavoured via the courts of chancery to obtain equitable relief and equitable remedy for the surety that we find ourselves shored up into with regards to the implied trust that we seem to be in. We have to look at the structures of government as well as banking, the structures of religion, civil laws, codes, and etc., as well as the court systems themselves that are unfortunately for us here in England, and for you in America, as I will show by my reading later of Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, we have seen these institutions flooded with masters Masonic masters. When I say masters, I saw a master down at the Chancery on Fetter Lane, and I presented my requirement to him for settlement, obtaining equitable relief and remedy for the public trust of which I'm presently commingling jurisdictions there of public trustee and private beneficiary, co-public trustee, co-public beneficiary. So looking at it now, several years on, it will be Occam's razor. So the path of least resistance will win the day. No need to overcomplicate it, and we are ready to move forward and progress with obtaining settlement at a certain type of a court in England, not the Chancery Court, because I got turned away from there. The answer that the master gave me was, David, what you have asked me for, this court cannot provide. It wasn't, hey, another free man on the land, is it? Another sovereign citizen here at my door? No. I don't even know what you're on about. None of that. It was business. It was short and sweet. I presented my claim, my requirement, what the possible claim would entail, and my response was, what you're looking for, David, this court cannot give. I've also, some years ago, found a bank account with the Royal Bank of Scotland, and it was the Church Street branch in Sheffield, and that bank account had the Church Street, Sheffield, Royal Bank of Scotland sort code, and it had 8 digits for its account number. How did I come across these 8 digits for the account number? It was using the 6 digits that are in my person's national insurance number. So remove the letters, you're left with 6 numbers. And the year that man David was 16 rotations around the sun. So for argument's sake, we'll say 1997. So we don't include the 19 from 1997, and we keep the 97. Okay, and the 97 went at the front of my 6 digits that I had for my person's national insurance number. I had the sort code from Church Street. I went on a website, independent bank account sort code checker, and there's quite a lot of them to choose from when you do a search, and I entered in all of the sort codes for the Royal Bank of Scotland in Sheffield, and the requirements that I needed for the type of bank account I was looking for was highlighted in that search, with it being, of all the bank locations in Sheffield, the particular bank that gave me the bank account with the most options that I was looking for. I think there was 5 green ticks where it has an IBAN and certain other capabilities on the bank account. It was lit up green, 5 ticks for the Church Street Royal Bank of Scotland in Sheffield, and then ended up putting that to attaching that to a PayPal account and charging from it, and subsequently some weeks later having the charges that I applied reversed, and PayPal sending me a little communication there and removing the bank account that they had confirmed was in my person's name and that I had charged items to of a low value from eBay and had successfully delivered. So I believe that these bank accounts that we found back in the day, a good 5 years ago now, Heather Ann Tucci Giraffe and the Treasury Direct account debacle that went off, that was all through that homework there, and we was some of the first into the Facebook group, and we, my admins and myself, the admins and myself from Sovereign Paralegals Facebook group, we went in and did some groundwork and some benchmarking there. I believe those accounts that we found were actually there to receive the equitable relief and the capital gains from the state. I don't believe they are there to be charged upon, and I don't believe they have any funds in them. They are put to one side for us to receive the funds into. So let me just check that the screen share and everything as it is. Relief. Right, so I would now do my screen share because I thought I'd done it, and we shall proceed. 5 pages, 2,000 words, CQV, administrative remedy proposal. All right, There's a lot more work to be doing, but this is where we're going to start. Thank you for joining me, and I hope it is to your liking, and if it's not, I'd like to know why. Let's get a screen share going. This is a still shot from the video that I've got in my archives that I took way back when, that's come back out due to it being talked about recently in an email with a scribe whose name I cannot. It might be Roy. If it's Roy, well done for me, because I get an awful lot of emails, and well done to you. And please, all of you, keep contacting me, keep the emails flying, keep them flying, keep them coming in. You will get a response, a reply in good time. All right, there's one of me, there's lots of you. We have a Facebook group that you can get into, a public trust effectively. We have a public Telegram group. The Facebook trust is where Calvinius Maximus, aka Brother Kevin, lives, and he manages that. Then we have the Telegram groups that are managed by our Telegram admins, which is at present Albert and Gansders and PJ and Quinn and Simon and me and Kevin and our Claire, in order of no importance. And then we have the private domain splspro.com. So you find us in various and many places, as well as this funky little channel that I've got going off for you here. So the title of today's video: Obtaining Equitable Relief and Undergoing a Civil Death, Being Reborn, Correcting the Implied Trust Settlement. And with a little bit of luck, I shall be able to get on here. Alright, yeah, you've got a screensaver there, a screenshot, alright, which is self-explanatory. So, is it self-explanatory? Top left, strawman account terminates by merging of the titles. You have SM denoting public, strawman above or next to that, above the bigger circle. You'll see discharge and set off leading down from two smaller circles within the big circle underneath the strawman public circle. And I'm going to describe this as I go through. Alright, so I'm leaving this on so you can reference this as I am chatting to you. Let's get that proper, a bit better. I don't like it right in my boat race, but I like it close enough to pick up what's going off. Settlement order. What is settlement? Have you looked at settlement? Talking about financial terminology, fiscal terminology, settlement, satisfaction, words and language, vernacular of the banking institutions. We have an arrow, a purple arrow, going from the strawman to the private side assets. We have private here in blue at the top, small round circle, LLC, Limited Liability Company. That's what the LLC stands for. Used only for goods and services purchases. We have the blue circle denoted private side assets. All right, and a little arrow going from the big blue circle to the little blue circle, interest. And they are labelled on the left, the beige coloured one, old strawman trust account, and then the blue big circle, new real man or LLC trust accounts. There are people out there, groups out there, intellectual freedom movements of thought, proposing that you are to obtain equitable relief by setting up a company in your person's name. Well, you already have a company, and you already have your person. Okay, persons are important. You can have natural persons, you can have artificial persons, you can have true persons, you can have a great variety of persons, but we are not persons. Ask yourself, are you a person? Check out the videos on this channel and the playlists here regarding persons and sovereignty in particular. Look at my heliocentric bibliotech playlist, alright, and have a look at that and decide, once you've got the material in front of you, are you a person? Or are you a living soul housed in a vessel with a soul, a spirit and a consciousness? Okay, so this is all key and integral as well. It's not free man of the land, and it is not sovereign citizen. It is factual, to the point, frank, stark, It's as real as it is, all right? It's as real as it gets. So let's continue with page 1 of 5. If we are to consider placing an acknowledgement of debt, and if we follow that along with an order for settlement, that would be estoppel, and it may give us time to file our claim and to prepare the necessary paperwork for effecting these legal or even lawful proceedings. How are we going to perform this settlement? There are groups out there attempting to settle and discharge public liabilities by creating a company in the name of the strawman, and as I've just touched upon, we'll argue about that later on when we're live, alright? But lazy, not good, and it's not going to work, alright? I'm not going to here to get into the technicalities of that, but if you need to ask why, then you're not where you need to be, and we need to put some work in to get you up to where you need to be. To action this settlement, it will be with the use of the Treasury Office appointed as our estate's financial intermediary regarding claiming our abandoned financial securities as outlined below in my hypothesis. So again, with the language, with the terminology of banking, the banking constitution, financial securities, reclaiming or claiming as it would be. You'd never had it and mum gave it away without any instructions to the General Registry Office back when we was knee-high to a grasshopper at the point of registration. So a security, a financial security, seems to have been abandoned by mum. To begin, see the above diagram, which is on all of your screens now. If we draw a circle in the middle of some paper and we draw a line down, a vertical line right down the centre of the circle to split it in half. And you may or may not be thinking of the circle of life, David. The circle of life. The wheel of fortune. Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up. On the left side is the public side. This is the minus side, where the public discharge and the public liability is. So the circle that you can see on your left is where we are at right now. On the right side is the asset side or the private side. That will have a plus there, a positive side. The set-off side. I would draw a line, a horizontal line, 3/4 down at the bottom of the circle. Now what you have is the traditional upside down T account, which is nothing more than a ledger in accounting. Those of you that have done accounting, comments, input, chirp, thank you very much. Where you have assets on the right hand side and you have liabilities on the left. Okay, so the blue circle we talked about having assets in, private side assets, liabilities are all in the cream circle, the beige circle, whatever we're going to get, taupe. I can see all the words of description coming up now. Stick to the point, initiates. Alright, and we do have a plus side, private side, titles, assets on the plus side on the right there, okay? So the assets is mentioned twice, once in the circle on the left, okay, public side, titles, liabilities, the minus side, and we've got the plus side. That's what I've just been talking to you about in the beige circle. Alright, all the people going into the debtor DTC, debtor creditor, yeah, that's my abbreviation, and secured party creditor seem to be falling into a potential trap. It's not quite so simple as the debtor creditor and the secured party creditor. It may well be, but from where we stand and from my homework and from where I am, David, I will say again, it is not that simple. You're going to try to circumvent the propositions and principles of equity and trust law and case law and precedents and landmark cases before us, then, and courts of equity, then feel free and be my guest. When they go into the debtor creditor, secured party creditor, and they go in answering questions, they are not, as we've said for many years on this channel now, they are not as king questions as king, because the king always asks the questions as king, asking the questions as king. The one who asks the question is the king, is in a position like the king, is as rough, it's raw. All right, it's not saying that you are equivalent to Charlie Boy right now, King Charles the the present monarch of the United Kingdom. Woohoo! Choose my words carefully here because I'm on trial. In essence, with the ones hanging on to the words and the terminology and the positions as we may or may not see them eye to eye. So you are in the position of, you're not being subordinate if you are controlling and halting and checking and confirming and asking the questions. That's all you're doing, confirming. Previously, we have not been as the king, asking questions. The business venues that we know as courts, the Royal Courts of Justice, Courts of Equity, etc., the Justices of the Peace and the Clerk have been asking the questions, particularly in magistrate, district, county, and obviously the higher courts there of England and Wales. So the clerk and the Justices of the Peace, aka judges, they are asking the questions and they are assuming the king position. And we are considered the trustee or the debtor in an implied trust. Those people that are successful to get into the courts think that they're going to be getting access to their trust, their Treasury Direct accounts, and that's where the big benefit will come in. If you fall into the trap by taking the benefit offered to you, then as far as we see it and as far as others see it, you never even get out of the matrix, and you're going to get yourself into a bigger mess perhaps, because you're nothing more than a better paid slave. The courts, the state, the establishment are going to give it to you all the treasury securities, the bills, the T-bills, the bonds, maybe even the gold certificates or whatever's in this alleged account. They're going to give it you all, and at that moment what you do with it is going to determine whether or not you will be succeeding and completing at what you thought you were starting out to do, or whether you want to never get out, and you're going to increase the GDP, the national debt, even farther. We have to think about that as well. We cannot pay debts with debt. Why I said what I said at the beginning of the video. There's many videos on this channel to help you navigate the stormy waters regarding money, securities, to talk about finance, bills of exchange and things like that as well. So we're here to help you, and this is just a simple proposal of what we're going to do to get out and exit the matrix. Really, they're going to love you for it if you do what I've just said in that previous paragraph. If you take those certificates, those bills, those bonds, and you spend them like money, like they hope you will, you're going to take the benefit of that by doing so, which is you're taking debt and you're going to spend it right back into the debt system, thinking that you've got access to your Treasury debt direct account, and you don't. All those debt titles on the left, inside that left side of the circle, that's what you get in there. We're going to draw another small circle and put a capital T in there, and capital T stands for titles. And at the foot of that T, we're going to put a small d. D stands for debt. It's the titles to the debt on the left side. We're going to do another circle on the right side. We're going to put a capital T in there. Now that's the titles, and at the foot of that T we're going to put a little a. The little a stands for assets. It's titles to the assets. So we're concentrating on the yellow beige circle on the left. Now if you take those titles to the debt on the debt side and you spend them, you're just going to create more debt. Double debt. Debt paying debt, and you can't pay debt with a debt. It just keeps mounting up perpetually, and that's why the state, the Bank of England, the Federal Reserve, central banks in themselves, and the state, the monarchy, the controlling factions of the elect above, they're going to love you for that. They really are. A point of note, settlement for equitable relief wants to come how? How would it want to be conveyed? How would you want it to be paid? Would you want a bank account with an equity card or a card for that account? And would you want to have a set amount each month? Or would you perhaps want the capital gains, interest and profits and equitable relief to be paid in the form of bullion? Your word is as good as gold. I've only got my promises to pay. I promise to pay. So have a think about that as well when we're talking about settlements. How would you want to get settled? How do you know you've been settled in your entirety? How do you know they haven't paid you half and kept half? Because again, the area that we're in, it's not black and white. I've been on at this myself for nigh on 10 years. Okay, so just to recap, debt, you can't pay debt with debt, so you are creating more problems than you realise. You're putting the financial clinches on the whole collapse of this whole process. If you treat it as a trust and you take the title and you draw a line from the TD, we're going to draw another circle at the top and we will put SM in there. That is denoted as a strawman account. We're going to take and merge titles. We're going to move the title, the TD, and we shall draw an arrow from that to the SM. We're going to move that title for the debt into that SM account. On the right hand side, the TA, the title to the asset, which has got the same amount as the TD on the left, they're going to be equal exchange. When we look into alchemy, it is, and we look at our action, reaction, the laws, opposite forces working against one another, with one another, the laws of equal exchange. All right, and we look at in legal areas and lawful areas, and to do with financial gain and contractual gain, we look at equal exchange. That's in itself is important terminology to include. We're going to move that title and draw a line up from that TA to the SM strawman account. Now what we've done is we've settled the accounts. In effect, we're closing it, or balance. Some people know it as balancing, settling, balancing. You've got the assets equaling the debts. And what happens when you take a minus and a plus and bring them together? Do they cancel each other out? Yes, opposites attract. Polarities, when we talk about polarity now, electrical, magnetic and so forth, okay? It discharges on the public side and it sets off on the private side. You have effectively brought the account to zero, balance wise. But here's the thing, 1 penny of real money, real lawful money on the private side, maybe in my mind will discharge all debts, all fiction money on the liability side, in theory. Alright, if I fell into the trap and used those titles to the debt as money, then I never did collapse the trust. I never did terminate the trust. Ergo, the public trust still exists, co-beneficiary, co-trustee. But if we are to, let's think about it, move or merge titles, I've put move both titles, but merge may want to be edited in there. If I merge both titles of the debt into the strawman and the titles to the assets into the strawman account terminates. The trust purpose has been fulfilled, everyone. There is no trust, and what happens when the trust is terminated? The trustee must wind it up. He winds up the trust and he terminates the trust. In other words, he has to disperse the funds, the real money still being held in the private. Now, what we're going to do from the remainder, or with the remainder, let's back up a little bit. After we give the requirement, order for settlement, we may want to consider giving an order for the discharge on the public side, and we're going to give an order for the set off on the private side perhaps, and we're going to give an order to set up a new trust on the private side. Once the strawman account has been closed, the remainder from that account is going to be transferred into the new trust, and with that new trust you're going to get totally different credentials or titles. The strawman account with the capital names with all the accounts associated with it are eliminated or gone, terminated. So civilly we're talking about utility bills, we're talking about driving licenses, we're talking about passports, we're talking about every aspect of your civil, legal, United Kingdom coexistence, alright, because this is as real as it gets, alright. So this is, when we're doing this, we're not just going for money and to be millionaires. We need to move to the private in all aspects of our lives and be recognised by the state as in the private. or you return the birth certificate and you go live in a field in a caravan and you never go back to the state cap in hand again. There's a few ways out of this. Okay, depends on your preference and what you know and your knowledge base and your consciousness, you know, where you're at. And effectively, we've been working for a company as an employee, but they've never paid us a wage. You know, if you look at it like that, the United Kingdom Corporation, the corporation of the United Kingdom, and we look at companies and persons and X, Y and Z, you know, the Companies Act is a great reminder for that. Shout going out to Brother Barry of the Atkins fam for his post in the thread, which I did the other day, and he put a link there to the Companies Acts, interpretations and constitutions of companies and persons. You know, there's more than that place to go. Black's Law Dictionary, okay, linguistical areas of Oxford English. So what is the implied meaning and what is the definition of a company in English? What is it in Black's Law? You know, what is it in legislation? Interpretation, meanings and definitions across all areas: legal, English, lawful. So the straw man account with the capital names with all the accounts associated with it are eliminated or gone. They are terminated. All your utility bills and everything in that respect should no longer exist. You may want to fill, or you may want to express and form a new trust, another account. So you're going to receive the remainder of that asset that's been put into that account. It should then receive the funds, in my humble opinion, reference the TDA bank accounts we found. So at the beginning of this video, I did make a point of specifically putting information laid out to you in a certain way. So now it should be dropping into place that we have actually a designated trust account to place the funds into. But if they can't be confirmed as ours and we can't get disclosure on that, and we've tried and we've written and asked for data subject SR, subject access request for, you know, the data on that, and I've gone to Rishi Sunak when he was as Chancellor of the Exchequer, and I've also gone to the Chief Executive of the Royal Bank of Scotland, and both avenues were quiet. So disclosure has not been obtained, and we need to follow that up. We had to go. Done more work than most, and I'm giving you a lot of information which constitutes the research of 10 years, so I hope you're kind of happy. Alright. Then you're going to come back and you're going to require to or order a new trust to be set up on the public side. A limited liability company, say for example, a company of sorts, a person, a new company, a private person. Create a person, but instead of having a person that the state owns, let's have a person that we own. I'll let that just flow into you, just wash over you. You're going to require, or you're going to, I don't like the word ordering, because when you order someone you get a bill. So what we require from you, be careful with your words, you know, think about them and know why you use them, and if there are alternatives, then why not consider using a different word. So we're going to require, or perhaps we're going to order the Treasury to do the trade or whatever they have got to do to generate the interest and capital gains held on the property or the assets held in private. They are to deposit that interest and that, you know, LLC on the public side, and we will live forever on the interest and capital gains that was generated from that in principle. As long as you only use that interest to purchase goods and services, the goods and services that you purchase are consumed by the living soul, real authentic man held in the private. As long as you don't conduct business with that account, that new LLC, then you won't be commingling your funds again, and you will not be creating any new debt. How does that sound? In effect, you've taken care of the war debt, taking care of all past debts. You've paid all present and you've paid all future debts that may be in the future, and you've discharged them on the public side and set them off on the private side. The remainder was transferred into this new account on the private side, which is generating interest on a new private trust or limited liability company, a person that we own, a company, a person, I know for some, but just bear with, we'll explain later. New LLC person trust on the public side. The interest is placed into that, and you will write checks like that, and nobody will be the wiser. It is not a taxable income because it's a foreign source, and you will be given the credentials to identify this new trust entity, and you'll become whoever, and you'll be able to travel like you were before, probably with more freedom than you had before under today's terms. One will undergo a civil death. The documentation should be simple. As long as we follow due process and do not circumvent the propositions of equity and trust law, and we are to notify, instruct, authorise all relevant parties and offices concerned. Yeah, God bless me. They may not answer back with argumentation. They may ignore you. If they did answer back with argumentation, they'd be acknowledging the debt themselves, and it would stop the prescription. If they do not answer back, we need to work on those civil procedure rules, pre-action protocols, and practice directions to compel them to answer back, to reply. We have to go and ask questions, because the one asking questions as king is king, and the questions I want to be asking are: do you have all the necessary forms in your possession to close and settle this account? If the answer is yes, well then you already have received the order for settlement, then close and settle it. If they say no, I'm just ballparking and taking notes from video and putting it out there, this isn't verbatim, this is nowhere near the finished article. If the answer is no, then I would give them an order to provide me with the forms that I need to complete the information so you can close and settle the accounts. It should be as simple as that. I think we have in the past, and I continue to do so, make the job, the task, harder, and under this debtor-creditor brainwashing, secured priority creditor that we continually go back to like a dog to its sick. We don't have to. Now, we have done the research with regards to the topics covered in this, and freedoms of informations and other such notices requests and requirements may need to go in afresh, just so we're off to, and we've done it ourselves, because some of the materials and the evidences we've been given have come through the ether and through the works that we've been doing. So just so you know, I know that you know that we know that you know that I know that we know that you know that we know that all is as it should be. We've got first-hand knowledge, and we're moving forward periodically, incrementally to the end goal. Now, some notes here at the bottom as we close down. Reference Winston Shrout and Heather Ann Tucci Giraffe. TDA accounts that we found some years ago and attached to PayPal only have to have the charges reversed. We know that there are bank accounts out there with the numbers composed of the 6 numbers in our social security number, national insurance number, and the year we turned the age of 16. The above theory may explain the reasons why our accounts and charges were reversed, and for America the 1099 IDs that they seem to be withholding, that they put on the withholding, and taxed it back to the principal. Winston of the Shrout allegedly has been incarcerated for his claim and what he's done, and for, I'm not sure, you do the research, it seems for tax purposes. Okay. And a part of his downfall, from what I can see, is that Winston, bless him, was wrong in saying that the man is the creditor. No, not at all. The man is not the creditor. Not in my opinion, not in the works that we've done. The security is the surety, alright? And the security instrument in this case would be the surety. So we need to explain to you terminologies and where it all arises from. So the beginning would be hospital, and it would be what? It would be man coming into this realm, given life by the female ejaculation of mum, borning man, womb man, so to speak, as I said many years ago on this channel. And there is a certificate of live birth, and the weight, the blood, the placenta, certain things, a Guthrie card, etc. done in England. Alright, and then 2 weeks later there is the point of registration, and then the General Registry Office accepts the the titles that are moved around. So it's an event. An event is happening. Jesus and his stories, crucifixion and reborn, events. We look at events. There's a registration process done by Mum on behalf of us. Couple of weeks old, few months old at most. Yeah, that's done on our behalf by our mother, and that is an event. I am not registered. You are not registered. No man is ever registered. Okay, people can be registered. Citizens can be registered, and etc. I didn't know it's you creeping down. Sorry if the audio went a bit during this. Sounded like you were fading away, Dave. So Shrout was wrong in saying that the man is the creditor, and I've given a basic ballpark area of where we're at and why we believe that man is not the creditor. As soon as the state, gets it back to the principle, the HMRC, Inland Revenue Service, then seized the funds or locked up the account, because the account, the HMRC, or as you're across the pond, the IRS, which is the same here, the Inland Revenue Service, the accountants couldn't give the disbursement to the beneficiaries, who were at that point classified as debtors, because as soon as the assets were transferred to them, the creditors would then begin to jump upon said assets. What they had to do is they had to seize the assets and apply it to the debt. And that's why I didn't get access to my alleged person's Treasury Direct account and the funds, and why the transactions were reversed. So we've done more groundwork than most. I didn't say we are the best, and we've got a lot of skin in the game, and we tell you first-hand knowledge, not beliefs, not thoughts, not proposals, not wishes, and not hopes. We're not a cult, and we are not a cult, all right? We're not occult, and we're not a cult. We are private, and we operate on the substance, the facts of the matter, first-hand knowledge, all right? Estates in reversion is another area to have a look at if you haven't heard of that terminology. All right, until we pay the past war debts, all the past debts, present debts and future debts that may be out there through the discharge on a public side, and then set off on the private side and terminate the public trust account as detailed above. And when I say war, are we still at war? You have warship, the WOR, and ship. We have warfare, and we are at war as regards to the British government, the corporation of the government, United Kingdom Corporation. I have that Hansard extract regarding the recuser and the questions asked back in the day, in war times, why government was formed and set up. And if we are still considered to be at war, spiritual war, we've got lots of type of warfare, all's fair in love and war. So it may not seem, because there's not bombs dropping, there's not rockets going off, and there's not militia and military, out on the street. It doesn't mean to say that there isn't a soft, silent weapons operating for soft warfare. All right, so we will go into that again at a later date, and you can find that if you use keywords in splspro.com. You use the literature library and the resource vault, and you will find all of what we speak of is there. All right, over the 10 years I've been researching this, I've made sure to deposit the facts of the matter in our publications. A Proclamation of Sovereignty, parts 1 and 2, the Sovereign Masters Guild publications, and subsequent publications, homegrown publications that we've given you so far. So that was the proposal for what we need to do. All right, so there's more work to be doing. It's not the answer, it is the answer, but we need to then walk with you and propose how we're going to use Occam's razor and go from me being told, David, what you have asked for, this court cannot provide or give you, and what court will do that, and how we can ask for that to be given. Remembering, when we go and we place a claim, we effect legal proceedings and we effect a claim, then we are duly, morally, we're obligated, we're bound to provide the facts of the matter. It's not going to be done on conjecture, hearsay or speculation, so we need to bear that in mind as well. given what we've already come to know up to this point. The 11th, it was nearly the 11th of the 11th, or around November, some 19, maybe 20, that I was in London at the Court of Chancery on Fetter Lane. So it's nearly probably 3 years to the day that I'm doing this video. So we're not in a rush. We're not after becoming millionaires. We need to move to the private, exist in the private, exit the matrix, obtain equitable relief, make sure we obtain it all, and get settlement in the just right and proper fashion. Alright, so thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed that as much as I have reading it and composing it. And bless you all. Thank you all. Take care of yourself and each other. See you soon. Alright, I'll be back later doing Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma, first chapter read, going into Illuminati, Masons, government, people, management, public trusts, money, control, order, Congress, etc. So this video is done first, and it will be made available to my channel supporters, and it will be made available to SPLS Pro beneficiaries, supporters there, and then we will come to the public in due course when we've got something to talk about. This must all remain private for now, despite a large portion of this being found years ago with a video on YouTube, of which I forget the title. Thank you for that, Scribe, reminding me of the content. Now, with our knowledge base, experience, tenacity, and skin in the game, we in England got a merger of the state and the church. We've got a lot to consider. Equity is equity throughout the courts around the world. Doesn't change. Trust law, statutory, different to statutory trusts, different to England and Wales private trusts. So again, we've got to differentiate the dual streams of law running side by side, parallel to one another. Equity being fused with the common law in 1873, 1875. A judicature acts, not adjudicator. So, we are closer than we've ever been before. Dare I say it? We're on the road. Rock on, Tommy. Bless up. Thank you. Much love.